It's the end of the month and the weekend. I'ma spend this check, everything on me, yeah. I'ma tip myself, I'ma spend it on myself. I'ma drop it like it's pouring, I'ma pour it on myself. Check, 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 check the money making bank account number. That's that shit that's never getting bounced on your bitch. I do the money dance, I just made 100 bands. When the stars say sign for it, I'ma leave my autograph. Dollar bills, watch it falling for me. I love the way that feels. Dollar bills, keep on falling for me. I love the way it feels. I came here to drop some money, dropping all my money. Drop some money, all this rice so yummy, yeah. Twerking, when I buy the things I like. Dollars dropping on my ass tonight. Everyone silent. Listen to my money talk, spend how I like it. Yeah, everyone know what I mean. When it's a green, that mean go. Give me what the hell I want. Give me what the hell I want. Check the money making bank account number. That's that shit that's never getting bounced on your bitch. I do the money dance. I just made 100 bands. When the stars say sign for it, I'ma leave my autograph. Dollar bills, watch it falling for me. I love the way that feels. Dollar bills, keep on falling for me. I love the way it feels. I came here to drop some money, dropping all my money. Drop some money, all this rice so yummy, yeah. Twerking, when I buy the things I like. Dollars dropping on my ass tonight.
Drop some money, dropping all my money. Drop some money, all this rice so yummy, yeah.
Drop some money, dropping all my money. Drop some money, all
Yeah.
this rice so yummy, yeah.
You good, Miss?
You're host. You can host, right? Or is John here or no?
No, it's just us. You need me to host?
Yeah, I was totally prepared.
You alright?
I wasn't prepared to do all that. I don't even know what to say.
Okay, that's fine.
Actually, I'll do it.
It doesn't matter either way.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Pre-Lock Live. I'm your host, Mike Miz 23, and I'm joined by my buddy Devin. What's up, Dev?
Another Sunday. I would say the most wide open Sunday of the season.
Yeah, dude, and we're starved for value. 6 teams on bye, sort of gross. I sort of hate this slate, but also sort of like it for GPPs at least. I don't know how you're feeling about cash games thus far, but we'll go into cash games, we'll go into GPPs, and we'll go into some prize picks. In the meantime, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so we know when we go live, and we really appreciate that. And then, so we'll get it kicked off with cash games.
All right, yeah, we'll jump right into things. This is, as I already said, this is, I would say, definitely the most wide open season of the year, or week of the season, because, you already mentioned it, there's not a lot of value, so you're really forced to pick and choose who you pay up for, where you pay up, what kind of build do you go for, do you go balanced, so it's still a fairly limited player pool like we typically see, but it's the build should be really different, and it should help keep some of that typical, uber chalk kind of down. So starting with quarterbacks, really looking like a pay up week. We've got Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, those are obvious. They're in play every single week.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford continues to be kind of like that mid-range option. The thing about Stafford is he doesn't have a super high ceiling like the other guys because he doesn't run, but he's just been super consistent. You pretty much pencil him in for 20 points. Plus, he's got just a little bit of narrative today. So he's certainly in play. And then, of course, we got Jalen Hurts. Comes in as the cheapest, and we talked about Jalen on the show before the show. He seems to end every first half with about 6 points, and you sit there and go, "Oh crap!" And then he scores 20 plus. He's actually arguably been the most consistent quarterback DFS wise in the NFL this year. He's just been super consistent, but it definitely is a little scary with him. And then over on FanDuel, Kyler Murray is another option as well. Do you have a lean on any of these guys this week?
I mean, Hurts is always good because his team kind of sucks, so he has to, and the play calling sucks, so he's forced into these long down and distances where either takes off the run, or throws to one of three guys, whether it be the running back, going to be Dallas Goedert only now since Ertz is gone, and then Devonta Smith. So other than that, I mean, you can run the rest of them naked because the distribution is so spread out. But yeah, I would say probably Hurts just because he's been so good and so consistent. But and we got burned by Lamar last week, which I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit on the show before the show as well. Yeah, I think, and pricing can kind of help dictate. You could, this is one of the weeks where I don't think you can play Mahomes on DraftKings at that price. That's too expensive. There's no way you're paying $1,000 more than Jackson or any of these guys. You look at Mahomes' log, he's not doing what he did in years past. He's not putting up 40-point games. He's putting up 20-point games. You can get that from Jalen, at a fraction of the cost. What about values? I guess, we got Derek Carr's looking like no Waller, so that kind of hurts him. But we got a game I know you're really high on, and both Matty Ice and Tua are both some cheap punt options on the board as well.
Yeah, and even Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones can get you 30.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be still unfolded here with who's going to actually be playing receiver for him today, but he will run too. So
yeah, he was
in the mix.
He's been sneaky decent this year, especially in the beginning. So yeah, quarterbacks a little more wide open than typical. And I think again, this is a week where you're gonna have to play with some builds and see what you like, see where you land, because there's no like slam dunks. Pencil them in and move on this week. Let's move over to running back, where I do think it is a little more straightforward. Starting with Darrell Henderson, he's looking chalky. He's been super consistent this season. 15 plus every single week he gets his touches. He's also been used in the passing game, which is really nice. Get to Detroit matchup, they're giving up 33.5 DK points to opposing running back groups a game, and for the Rams, that's Henderson. Sonny Michel's getting very few touches, so really got to like Henderson here on both sides. He should be pretty chalky, especially on DraftKings at just 6.6. That's still way too cheap for what he's done all season. And they've got the highest total on the board, so you're going to want some pieces there. Big question here for running back is going to be, are you going to pay up for Derrick Henry? $11K on FanDuel? No, thank you. He'd have to score 40 at that price to be worth it. 9.2 on DraftKings, still pretty expensive. You can get some stud receivers for a little bit less than that, but he's certainly in play if you can get to him. Again, this is where you're going to have to make a decision. Do you want Derrick Henry? Do you want a stud receiver? You cannot get both this week without it being an ugly lineup. So Derrick Henry, don't need to talk about him. He's a stud. He's on a historic pace. 162 attempts already. That's insane. Joe Mixon has 111. I mean, that's nuts.
That's like that's like 2.5 more games worth.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane what he's doing, and they just keep giving him the ball. So of course, he's in play. And then after that, I know you and I are both really high in Miles Sanders. It sounds a little gross. He's been terrible this year, but he comes in at under 6K on both sites. Only 5,100 on DraftKings is a really nice price. It's a Vegas team that's given up 130.7 yards per game on the ground. And the big thing here is that the offense coordinator came out and said, listen, Sanders is one of our best players. We have to get him involved. We have to get him the ball. So I know he was one of your musts this week on the show before the show. Are you still really high on him?
Indeed, indeed. I love Miles Sanders today.
And that's going to open up a lot of salaries.
Probably going to kill me, but we'll see.
Yeah, but I think that's one of the better values on the board. Certainly an option. And then good old Leonard Fournette, ever since we talked about him 3 weeks ago as a must, he's just been on fire. He has 3 straight games of over 100 yards of total offense. Really involved in the passing game this season. He is the clear number one there finally, as it probably should have been last year. The matchup's not that great, but it doesn't matter. Tampa Bay's just been crushing everybody offensively. So I'm not really worried about who they're playing weekly. Leonard Fournette absolutely in play. Hubbard as well gets a really good matchup against the Giants. He's a sneaky, consistent play. Darrell Williams, I really like him for on FanDuel. He should be pretty chalky at 6,700. Was really good last week as the feature back. I think he's better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think you would agree with that. He's certainly been more productive.
Well, for this team, he is.
Yes, for this team. Maybe not talent-wise, but for this team, it just seems to work better. Yeah. What do you think of Josh Jacobs taking out a Philly team, giving up 135 yards per game?
100%. I mean, I came around to him late last night. I stayed up way too late and got up way too early, of course. But I came around to Josh Jacobs late last night. The Eagles don't have a good run defense anymore, and I don't know if anybody really knows that or not. Everybody's still, like you hear people talking on the radio, talking on TV. I don't know about today. I haven't watched anything today, but everybody still considers like the Eagles like this vaunted run defense when they've actually been better against the pass than the run.
Their pass numbers are actually pretty good.
Yeah, and I know Kenyon Drake scored twice last week, but he only had like 6 touches or 6 carries, one of the two.
Yeah, his actually I have a snap count right here. He only played 21% of the snaps, so it's not like he was on the field a ton.
Yeah, so and he's obviously a home favorite. You got to love that. However, if Waller does miss, he is really good at blocking. So I'm not going to be off of him totally from that, but it's definitely makes it a little bit more risky. With that being said, your lineups this week are going to be ugly, no matter how you do it.
Yeah, you're going to be uncomfortable this week. It's not like other weeks where, you were walking away feeling pretty good about your builds. So Josh Jacobs, certainly an option. Devontae Booker is projected to see a little bit of ownership. I'm not crazy about the play. He was decent last week, but Carolina's got a good defense. They're only giving up 300 yards total offense per game. And then just a little. I know you're the GPP guy. I'm a sneak in a little GPP play. James Conner is seeing the field a ton in blowouts. I believe it's like 16.5 touches per game when they're up, by double digits or whatnot. And he's got 5 touchdowns on the year. So a little bit of a sneaky low-owned GPP play in a high total game. A game that should be, most likely should be out of reach fairly early.
In the first quarter.
Yeah, exactly. Get him some extra touches. So just a little sneaky extra play there. And then do not forget about Cordero Patterson. We haven't had him on the main slate for a few weeks. He's laughably priced on FanDuel at 8K. GPP play only, but Miami gives up 417 total yards to opposing offenses. Patterson does a little bit of everything, and he's been 20 points a week, so nobody's going to play him this week. It's certainly a play that you got to like for GPPs. All right, let's swing over to wide receiver. Again, wide open here. I'm gonna start at the top. Well, apparently Siri thought I was talking to her. Starting at the top, you got the three big boys: Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill. So we talked about Devontae Adams on the show before the show this week, and I talked about how he is not the greatest DFS receiver this year because he's been a little up and down, but it's been very matchup dependent. And this is one of those matchups where when he crushes, it's a matchup like this. Washington's giving up 309 yards per game through the air, including 31 DK points per game to opposing wide receivers. Absolutely getting crushed. Devontae Adams, this should be a week that he's closer to that 40-point range again. Very pricey, though the most expensive of the big three on each site. Going to be hard to get. Again, this is going to be where you have to pick and choose who you want to play. Got Cooper Kupp is another option. He's been more consistent. He's been the most consistent wide receiver. You can pencil him in for about a 20 a week. Certainly in play. Again, they have that high total, a little bit of revenge narrative with Stafford here. And you have Tyreek Hill. Again, a little bit more up and down than Adams has been. He's been banged up all year. He does come in as the cheapest on FanDuel at $8,500. That probably is going to drive up some of his ownership over there, where you can get him at some savings. All three of those guys are in play. Again, do you have a lean on any of those guys?
Man, I mean, it's hard not to like Tyreek Hill, obviously, just because Tennessee's defense has been so bad this year. And then, of course, the Washington team is like, an XFL team at this point in the back end.
Yeah, and I believe they're out one of their tight air. I believe Washington's missing one of their good defensive backs again this week too.
Yeah. So I mean, it comes down if you want to they can do whatever they want to them. So just a matter of whether they want to give Adams 100 targets this game and then have Aaron Jones do basically nothing, or vice versa. So with the Chiefs, they kind of spread it amongst Kelsey and Tyreek Hill mainly, and then everybody else gets scraps. So I feel like you might have a little bit more maybe of a floor in Tyreek Hill, but I think probably the ceiling is probably higher for Devontae Adams today.
Yeah, I think that's probably a safe statement. Tennessee is giving up 51.5 DK points per game to opposing wide receiver groups. That's nuts. That's the highest on the slate. That's about 5 points higher than what Washington's giving up. So again, any of those three guys, are in great spots. They have fantastic defensive back matchups. They all rate as, three of the top four over on PFF matchup wise. And those are three of the best in the league. So then we got that mid-range tier coming next. Calvin Ridley, who I know you're super high on. I'll let you talk about him a little bit in the next section. Chris Godwin with no Antonio Brown, 5,967 over on FanDuel. That's a nice price. He's going to be involved. Again, it doesn't matter with Tampa Bay. The game script doesn't matter. Again, you're going to talk about that, so I'll leave some of that to you. We've got A.J. Brown, Julio Jones. He stood on the sidelines last week. Good chunk of that game. He's supposed to be active today, but how active is that? I don't know. And then we got to wait and see this Giant situation. You got Sterling Shepard as an option.
It looks like he might not be. It looks like it went bad, so they haven't officially dropped the news yet. But I don't think
Shepard's not expected to play. Okay, so there you go.
We don't have official word yet, but it looks like
let's keep an eye on the Giants situation, because whoever they have in the field is going to end up being a value option. Because they're
all the Pettis.
Yeah, they're really. What's Pettis' price?
$3K. Yeah,
so if Shepard's going to miss, then there you go. You got a much needed punt option at $3K. Speaking of that, let's swing to some value options. You mentioned Pettis. Keep an eye on that. If Shepard's out, there you go. Also got a Baltimore guy for you in Rashad Bateman. He made his debut last week. He played 65% of the snaps. which was the second most behind Hollywood. He also was tied for the lead in targets with Andrews. They were short targets, but it was good to see him out there and receiving targets at just 3.4K and 5.3 on FanDuel. What do you think of Bateman this week?
I mean, it might be getting a little too much hype. At 3, it's not going to kill you at that price. It's not going to win you a tournament unless you can score, it goes nuts. But because his targets were so short, I mean, he only had 29 yards.
Yeah.
Which I attribute that to just him getting back into the groove of things from his hernia. But I mean, it's fine. I'd rather play Pettis though. I mean, Pettis had 11 targets last week.
Yeah, and it's really looking like, like you said, I think Shepard's going to be out. It's really looking that way. So I think that's a really good opportunity, especially if Pettis doesn't shoot up the projected ownership on a week that's pretty ugly. That might be a pretty massive advantage over everybody else, is to take a shot on him over Bateman as your receiver value.
I mean, I'm going to do that, so everybody knows.
We also have some more injury news to keep an eye on. I'm going to assume Devontae Parker is out. Everything's trending to that, which makes Jalen Waddle a really nice option under 6K on both sites. Saw a ton of targets last week. He has that rapport with Tua. Gets a pretty good matchup against Atlanta in a very attackable game. So Jalen Waddle's another one of these kind of mid-range value options that you certainly got to like.
Hard not to, really.
Yep. All right, let's move over to. There are some other receivers in play, but those are the main ones I'm really looking at. Let's move over to tight end.
This should be pretty straightforward.
Really. Really a 4-man race, but for me, it's really 3. We've got Travis Kelce, obviously, always. He's the best tight end in the league. Not even close. Waller's banged up, can't touch him, so just take him out of your player pool. And then so we've got a couple mid-range guys. Dallas Goedert, Ertz is out of town. Goedert's finally the only guy there. Comes in at a nice price, especially on DraftKings at 4,600. 59 on FanDuel is pretty decent too. Certainly gotta like him. Mike Gesicki, same price range. He's $100 more on each site. Especially if Devontae Parker's out, that offense is going to run through him and Waddle. So you got those two guys, and then you got our dude Ricky Seals-Jones. So that's your even cheaper option. I like all 3 of those guys, and that you can let pricing dictate that. If you need the extra savings, you can drop down to Seals-Jones. Of course, he's been super consistent. He played 100% of the snaps to steal Miz's line. He played 100% of snaps last week. 99 the week before, so he's on the field nonstop in a tight end heavy offense. So again, do you have a lean here between the 4?
Well, yeah. I mean, I would just because like no salary factored in, I would play Dallas Goedert. Between trying to pick between those two because they're the most highest owned. But I think you need the savings for Ricky Seals-Jones. We're just starved for value. I mean, outside of Bateman and Pettis and that kind of thing, there's not really a lot going on this week.
Yeah.
So we know what we're getting out of Ricky Seals-Jones at this point.
It'll give you about 10 points.
Right. So 3.7, sure, his prices come up, but okay, that's still not high enough, really. Should be probably 4.7.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then if not, I'm using Goddard for sure. And then Pitts for me.
Yeah, I mean, I like Pitts as well. He's just a little more pricey. His FanDuel price is nice at 6-1 though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just not in my player pool because we need that savings, and tight ends are always the spot. I'm going to look for that savings. So
yeah, he's a very offer price.
Yep, I completely agree. Especially in GBPs, we talk about it on the show before the show all the time too. That double tight end is a viable strategy. I know it feels weird, but tight end is the one position where they really, in all reality, underprice these guys. Um, there's no reason Ricky Seals Jones shouldn't be, like you said, probably about 4.7, 4.5 or up.
Yeah.
So tight end's always a spot to take advantage of. All right, and then I don't talk about defense, but I'll give just a quick rundown. I got to say it every week. Do not prioritize defense. That should not be the first position you click. If you're building around a high price defense, you're making a mistake. Defense carries an incredible amount of variance and luck because it's based on turnovers. There can be a bounce of a ball a certain way, a tip pass, etc. A lot of luck involved. Do not build around defense. Build your lineup, see where you land, go from there. If you hate the defense you land on, then you can adjust a little bit. Few defenses obviously in a great spot. Arizona. I like Philly with Waller beat up as a punt option at 2-3 on DraftKings. But again, I'm not. See where you land, go from there.
I totally agree with all that. I'll talk about my defenses when we get to them, but I agree with that, especially the Eagles one. That was my top one. They still can rush the quarterback. They still have Brandon Graham and that kind of stuff.
And no Waller certainly
players
helps.
are still so overrated. I can't get off of it. They're just so overrated.
All season you've been saying that.
Yeah. So especially if Waller's out, forget about it.
Yeah.
The receivers are garbage. But you still got to like Josh Jacobs, which I would prefer. So if you're picking between the two, right, you don't always want to do that, but it's not the worst thing to do. But if you're picking, I would still leave Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
All right. That's pretty much it for cash games. We can move right into GPPs this week. Hopefully we're lined up here. But as you mentioned before, I was on this, since Monday morning. I was just like looking over the slate. I don't look at anything. I don't look at pricing or anything like that until actually yesterday. But, there's two games, and we'll talk about that one second. But probably my favorite one going into this week now is Brady, Godwin, Evans. AB is out, my boy AB. The good thing about the Buccaneers and Tom Brady and all that. First of all, nobody wants to play Tom Brady this year. His ownership is always low. He's throwing it 40 plus times a game, every game. So it's hard not to like that and his receivers. And with basically one of his top guys out, I expect them to funnel those targets mainly towards Godwin and Evans, and they're both under 7K. They're both in this either. I think Godwin is like 5'9" or something.
Yeah.
Something like that, and Evans is under 7. Tom Brady's priced towards the top of the quarterback, pricing echelon, but even if these guys do have ownership, Brady doesn't. So putting them all together really, collectively has low ownership. And the Bears, they have a good run defense, but that's about it. And
no Robert Quinn either. That's huge.
Right, exactly, even more. And we've seen thus far, Brady doesn't really care, who he's playing or what the score is. They're just it's full throttle. They don't care, which is great. I like that. That's the way it should be. If you don't want to get your ass beat, then play better. And they're putting it on. They're putting up points in bunches. So collectively on a slate that we don't really have a lot of certainty, this is a good way to have a lot of certainty in an uncertain situation. So that would be my top stack today. And then apparently, folks have gotten on to this next one, but I was on this one really since Monday, looking over the slate, and that's the Matt Ryan. I feel like I tout him way too much, but yeah. So him, Ridley, Pitts, and then Jalen Waddle. Waddle is your best bet to have some certainty on a shitty team like the Dolphins. His A dot's like 9 or something, which isn't phenomenal, but it isn't terrible like it was when Brissett was in there. And like 90 plus percent of the of Matt Ryan's touchdowns this season have come via their running backs. So he's passing to the backs, and that's attributed also to Cordell Patterson being listed as a running back. But and you're telling me Calvin Ridley, one of the top 4 receivers drafted in season long, has 1 touchdown thus far on the season. He didn't play last game, and we had a bye week last week, but it's definitely going to swing back in their favor. Obviously, Ridley's going to be high owned, but Pitts doesn't really have much ownership. Putting these all together, the collective ownership should be low, in this spot could be a sneaky spot for a shootout. However, you have to worry about Tua being able to play well. If Tua doesn't play well, then the Falcons aren't a team that's going to likely, lay the wood on these people. It's just they'll take the foot off the gas. They'll start to run the ball, those types of things. So you really have to hope that the Dolphins can manufacture some good drives and put up some points. Or, you have Tua back there who, can really shit the bed at times. So if you use Gesicki, you can do the whole double tight end thing to get a little bit different, even more different than this is already going to be. But if you're just going to go Ryan Ridley, don't even do that. I mean, that's going to be pretty popular. So you got to really put your eggs in this basket if you want to take advantage of the situation.
Yep, and just to you mentioned Ridley. The funny thing about Ridley, he's still averaging 10.5 targets a game. I mean,
right?
He's
It's
averaging
come
what?
back and swing his way for sure.
Yeah, he's averaging what Tyreek, Adams, and Cooper Kupp all average in terms of targets. But because he's been a little unlucky with the touchdown shares, his price is drastically lower.
Right. Like normally we're used to seeing Calvin Ridley in the high 7s, mid to high 7s. I think he maybe eclipsed 8 at one point last year. Not positive on that part, but this is definitely a good spot for them coming off a bye. And don't forget about Russell Gage either. He's a little source of value, even though it is a little bit risky. And I have some others listed on there if you want to check out the article on the website. There's some others on there that I think do have a lot of potential to be a little bit different and kind of go under the radar to mix in with the rest of your plays that are a little bit more solid. And then if you want to get into specific plays for me, I love Hurts, and obviously everybody's in my stacks are listed there. We talked about Jacobs, Derrick Henry. I think it could be an Aaron Jones week. Could be. Just because he gets overlooked with everybody trying to force Henry in, right? He kind of gets, he's sandwiched between 2 people that are out. Also, I know that sounds stupid, but
Nobody's going to play.
It does to people's psyche.
Yeah, he's going to be super owned.
He's going to be probably the lowest owned he's been all season, probably. And we talked about Tyreek and the debate between him and Adams. Devonta Smith is also a very good play that we mentioned earlier. The Giants receivers, along with Daniel Jones, I think can give you some differentiation as well. And then we talked about the tight ends, but one tight end that could bring some value is Anthony Firkser. This dude sucks balls, and I have no idea why they, let all the good potential options in free agency just either walk out the door or pass them by. But they decided to roll with him. However, the Chiefs have been so bad against any and all pass catchers, but they do force things into the middle of the field. I do realize that receivers have had some good game success against the Chiefs thus far. However, they still try to put things towards the middle of the field. So that could bring some more targets and maybe actually a touchdown for this dude, believe it or not. And then
Yeah.
finally with defense, the Eagles definitely a very good defense for this. They never really kill you. There's been one game I think they killed us, um, but they do have potential to really step up and you know shake the cradle here because everybody loves the Raiders this season for some reason. Still don't get it. Cardinals are going to be the most popular one. They're mispriced playing against the Texans. So if your lineup is different enough, when you get to your defense, then you can play them. They're definitely a good play. But if the rest of your lineup is chalk, I would probably not use them. And then the Ravens. I know that this is a homer pick. However, nobody really talks about the changes that have occurred on the defensive side of the ball. Josh Bynes is running the defense now, not Patrick Queen. Everybody is much more in sync and knows what they're doing now because he's calling the plays and putting people in positions correctly. Deshaun Elliott is back on the back end, allowing Marlon Humphrey to be his lockdown self and those guys to get creative in rushing the passer and sticking their dudes, and then letting Deshaun either blitz or roam in the back. Before, when he's out, they kind of get completely dysfunctional. So those two things make them a much better play than people are really giving them credit for. And then the Packers against the football team. The football team is just crap garbage. Not only on the field but off the field. And then there's merit to using the Falcons as well. So if you're going to use the Falcons, don't. I wouldn't bother, stacking them if you're going to use that defense because we could get a really bad Tua game and they could actually surprise some people, especially with DPs running the defense. And then obviously the Bucks and Rams are in huge, spread games and going up against very either inexperienced or shaky quarterbacks and allow for, some turnovers. And that's all I've got, man. Do you have any other GPP takes?
No, I mean, I'm on the same page this week, and then I mentioned a few when we were talking about the cash section. Guess maybe like a JD McKissick because Antonio Gibson. So did you see it's officially that he's been playing with a like a small fracture or something?
Yeah, it's
and
a
you had,
stress fracture or
yeah,
hairline fracture in his shin.
yeah, you had talked about how they keep, people called him a ticking time bomb. So he goes out. McKissick's gonna step into the role. It's not a great matchup, but we know he can catch the ball. So that's kind of a, more of an MME type of play if you're running multiple lineups. What do you think? What do you think of Tyler Johnson as a 3K punt with Antonio Brown out?
I mean, yeah, he's filled in this role before with some success and then some not.
Yeah, he's hit or miss, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I wouldn't use him in a cash game, like if you're looking for value for your cash lineups, but you can roll him out otherwise because he's still part of a high-powered offense. When you're betting on that, he's viable, but I wouldn't go out of my way. I'd rather play Pettis or somebody like that where I know there's going to be more targets. I just want to mention the inactives. Devontae Parker's out. Ramondre Stevenson is out, which is good for Damian Harris. Sterling Shepard is out, along with Saquon, Galladay, and Tony. My God.
Wow.
And then Curtis Samuel, RIP. And then Tevin Coleman is inactive. Not a great matchup, but Michael Carter could be a thing this week because they were on bye last week. The bye week has given them, time to get coached up a little bit here. So don't be surprised if he actually gets more work than he has, thus far this season.
Tell you what, his log's sneaky, not that bad actually. He's got double digits in 3 of the last 4 too. Touchdowns in 2 straight weeks.
John Ross, Darius Slayton, Dante Pettis are your Giants receivers, really. And John Ross and Darius Slayton both have hamstring. All in on Pettis. Let's go.
Yep. I Yeah. I mean Slayton. What he came in week 3, played one series and then was out again. So I think you gotta like
Yeah.
Pettis here.
All right, man. What do we
Well,
like for our
yep.
partner at PrizePicks? PrizePicks, sign up code with YFC, get a $100 deposit bonus. That's always good. And if you're watching this stream and you live in the glorious state of Maryland, you'll know that we have gone live with PrizePicks here. I try to inform everybody that I know about this. I've been playing, now that I officially can play, and I'm very busy during the weeks now. So NBA is, it's my love child, but it's very hard for me to play consistently at this point, at least for right now. But PrizePicks is a great way to go about, getting involved with NBA and other sports. But what do we like today from this from the board here?
So Leonard Fournette, over 25.5 receiving yards. He has done that every week this season but one. And the week he missed was week 2, and he had 24 receiving yards. His 3 straight games in the 40s receiving yard wise. Again, you're looking at 6 to 7 weeks, 5 of 6 weeks he's hit this over. So give me Leonard Fournette over 25.5 receiving yards. That one really stood out to me.
I got 2 that I really like. I like Calvin Ridley with over a half a touchdown, receiving touchdown. Hard to not like that after all that we've spoke about Calvin Ridley thus far in the stream. And then Miles Sanders over 13 fantasy points. It's the Miles Sanders week, man. It's happening.
There you go. Yep. No, I agree. I was the Ridley one was on my list as well. Yep, and those are 2 guys we talked about as well on the stream. So I've said it before. I always really like those touchdown props because half a touchdown, that's obviously. Yep. So I was really, you're not relying on, the yardage can be tough at times. So I really like touchdown props a ton.
Totally. All right, man. Well, that's about it. I think outside of that, is there anything else that you'd like to mention? Check out our show before the show. It's usually posted either Friday afternoon or at least by Saturday morning. Just get a feel for the slate and start, as you start to build your lineups and those types of things. And then check out all of our content on YouTube. Like and subscribe to all of it. We greatly appreciate it. Outside of that, you got anything else?
Nope. Darrell Williams and Josh Jacobs over half a touchdown. I thought you guys could hear Gervais, but I was informed you cannot. So those are some producer Gervais, some extra picks as well for PrizePicks.
Yeah, those are good ones too, for sure. If they do put Matt Ryan over 1.5 touchdowns, you should take that too. I don't think they're going to put it off though. All right, man. Well, that's it. That's all I've got. Got to finish building lineups. But again, like, subscribe, and we will catch you guys next time. Peace.
Everything on me, yeah. I'ma tip myself, I'ma spend it on myself, I'ma drop it like it's pouring, I'ma pour it on myself. Check the money making bank account number. Yikes. That's that shit that's never getting bounced on your bitch. I do the money dance. I just made 100 bands. When the stars say sign for it, I'ma leave my autograph. Dollar bills, watch it falling for me. I love the way that feels. Dollar bills, keep on falling for me. I love the way it feels. I came here to drop some money, dropping all my money. listen to my money talk. Spend how I like it. Yeah, everyone know what I mean. When it's a green, that mean go. Give me what the hell I want. Give me what the hell I want. Check the money making bank account number. That's the shit that's never